that wood.
This is how we gonna start off Wednesday morning unboxing. How many rolls of toilet paper is that?
96 rolls per case, 2-ply sheets, 500 per roll.
Well, let's see what we just paid for that. This is how we this is how you get commercial stuff. It says no return due to high demand. Oh, and disinfectant products. $53. $53 for 96 rolls of poo-poo wiping.
TP for your butthole.
96 rolls of poo-poo wiping. That's amazing. Alright, so this morning we are going to get back on this little Jewel. This is going to be finally a full day for me on this guy. So it's Wednesday morning. Beautiful morning. And we about to get going. So yesterday we got the hood cut. I didn't get a chance to put it back on or anything, and we got sanding on the roof, some on the roof. So the plan for today is basically weld in patch panels, sling body filler, basically fill every dent, every ding on the shell of the car, do the patch panels, body work them, and get the shell into primer. If I can get that far somehow, if I can push myself that hard and get this car to that far of a stage today, I will be absolutely freaking stoked. That's going to take a lot for just doing it by yourself with no help and getting interrupted with questions all day long and whatever else I get thrown at me for today. That's going to be a lot to get accomplished. Yeah, hopefully we'll make some ground today. So let's dive right in and get dirty this morning. Alright, so got this side welded in, and I did this one the correct way where I put the panel, I cut a square panel like this, okay, put it on the back side and then traced it out and then cut it all to fit, put it in there so it's all one piece together. I won't be doing that again, I promise you that. That's a waste of freaking time. So I decided to get fancy with it and try to do it like that, and it's just pointless and stupid in my opinion. So at the end of the day, if you just butt a panel up behind it and weld it, it's going to go way faster because you're not welding basically, you know, two edges together where it keeps burning through. Because this is real thin sheet metal, you know, just like in there. So what I actually do is I actually use a scrap fender or something to cut metal out of it. That way it's the same thickness. So this is actual, you know, car metal. It's not like going to the metal yard and buying a thicker gauge or something, and it's free, so there's no reason for me to waste money and go buy the thicker stuff. So the next one I will not be cutting a precise panel and wasting all that time, because I spent a ridiculous amount of time over there for no reason, popping through. Because of course I'm not TIGging it. I just use a MIG just like all of y'all guys do at your house. So we're gonna slip one in underneath here from the bottom side, and of course we got to grind the paint off. Probably grind it off this side because this is just E-coat, whereas this side is actual E-coat primer and paint. So we'll probably just grind it off this side, clean off this, put it up underneath there, put some tacks around it, and then we'll skim it out with filler. So it's not a big deal. And then we'll cut us one to go in from the inside here. Same thing, put some tacks around it, skim it out with filler. I didn't go ahead and fill in them little holes just because of time. Like I said, that was not really a concern of the owners. So we're just gonna leave it for the factory. And there is, I think that is like a rubber seal or something goes there. So they're nice, equally spaced. I'm just gonna leave them alone. I did fill that one and fill that one. I'll probably catch this one and that one over there and then get all these little dimples. I might go ahead and catch this one and this one, you know, maybe catch that one. That way everything will be nice and slick and smooth besides these factory ones up here. So it'll look cleaner, you know, but I mean, we're not even doing the windshield washer motor opening. So there's no reason to get carried away. And like I said, that was not discussed. We're not trying to smooth everything. So biggest thing was patching them up. So that's what we're gonna do. That's where we're at right now. I'm going to try not to kill y'all with time lapse either. So I'm gonna get this prepped and get these welded in, and then we are finally gonna be able to move on this morning to slinging a little filler on these areas, and then finish sanding on our roof and slinging some filler on our roof today. So it is now, let's see here, 12 o'clock. We are technically, I feel like I'm behind schedule just a little bit. Tow truck come in earlier and dropped off cop car. So we bought it from the auction. It's ours, got spotlight on it and everything. But that kind of set me back. A few got me distracted, and then I was helping Ed on some stuff. So I'm gonna try to dive back into this thing, make some progress. All right, so we got all of our patches done, everything grinded out, got all that filled in. Got this hinge over here filled in on this side. Got the little holes that I'm gonna do through there done. That side was already done, you know the deal. So got all that grinded out, and then we also had a mid plate, an old mid plate tab down there up inside the steering rack that was really hard to get to, that he texted me this morning actually and asked if I could go ahead and get it with the grinder. So we snaked up in there and grinded that off. Besides that, we're gonna start skimming this out. We're gonna go ahead and skim this out, I think, and then move on to sanding the rest of the roof, and then drop our way down into the quarters. And I guess it's about time for me to figure out how to get these quarter windows out and go ahead and get the tail lights out and all that. But I'm gonna go ahead and get a skim coat of body filler over this. We're gonna put a little bit of etching primer over this raw metal. So we're just gonna use a rattle can, being it's just a little spot in. So anytime you're just doing a little spot in, you can just do something like this. There's no reason to bust out 2K etching primer when it's just a little area. Now, if you took this whole car down to bare metal, then you don't want to use a etching rattle can. You want to go ahead and mix it up in a gun and shoot it. But for spot ends, this is perfect. Our front end, when we do that, we will do 2K because it will be in the booth all taped up. So we'll prep this. The front end will get no high build primer on it because we're not looking for show quality. So all we're going to do is just sand everything out and smooth any little sharp edges. And then when we get it in the booth, when it's all masked up, it'll be raw steel up here and it'll be primer everywhere else. We will then shoot 2K etch on it, and there's a flash time that I will go over at that point, and then we will paint right on top of our 2K etch because this is just tube work. So we're not looking for a like a hand blocked finish, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to just shake this rattle can up and spot this in and start slinging a little filler here in a few minutes after this stuff dries. I think you got to let this dry for, let's see how long, 2 to 3 light coats, flash time 5 to 10 minutes between coat, top coat in 10 to 20 minutes. So we'll get this on there, we'll set a timer for 20 minutes, and we will sand the roof and maybe sling some of them dits for the next 20 minutes while this is flashing before we put filler over it, because you don't want to put anything on top of this for 10 to 20 minutes, it says. All right, on your window trims around the top of your door on the shell, you have that long trim, okay? It takes one Phillips screw that goes right there. If y'all don't know, I know some people don't know. I've actually talked to people that don't know. Nothing wrong with that, but just so you know. And then it pushes up over the lip. Now what holds it on is basically like a Buell tape. It's really nasty. It's this stuff right here. It looks like poop. It is really just, as you can see, sticky, and it is nasty. It makes a mess. It gets all over the car. It slings everywhere. It's gonna get all over everything. When you're done with this job, you're gonna be doing some cleaning. But you gotta get in there and just go ahead and get it out, man. Like, just get it over with. You'll go back later. It slings all over the glass. It slings everywhere. When we're done with this job, what we're gonna do with the glass, I'll go ahead and touch on that real fast for anybody that's wondering, is we'll take soap and water and we actually scrape the glass with a razor blade. It doesn't scratch it. If you use soap and water and you use a brand new razor blade, you won't scratch your glass. That's how you take stickers off everything. I'll ask him if he wants this sticker removed. If it means something to him, then we won't touch that. But we will be scraping the whole glass down, and then when we buff the car, we're gonna buff the glass out also with a buffer. So that's gonna give the glass a brand new shine on the outside. I can't fix anything that's on the inside, but there's just gonna be so much crap. Like, all of this is that stuff that just slung all over the glass. What it is this crap right here. It's this goop crap. So we're gonna clean all of this glass off. It'll get clean with paint thinner. It'll get scraped all down, and it will get polished out at the end, and this glass will look and feel brand new on the outside. It's just part of the project. When you're doing it this big, you can tape your glass, you can cover your glass. 3M makes products that you can cover everything, but glass is really durable. So if you don't do something stupid like weld right beside it where it's splattering right on it, you know, when I was welding up here, I put down the rubber mat that I always, you know, use a lot so that the splatter is not hitting it. As long as you're not doing anything stupid, your glass will be okay. Try to, you know, just be careful around it. You obviously don't want to crack it in the process or anything like that. But we will be cleaning everything up at the end. When you're in this stage of the restoration or the job, it's kind of just get in there and get it done, man. Like, I don't want to pull the glass out the car right now. Some people would take the glass out, back tape paper all on it. I don't want to do that because then when we go to do our washing process, then we have water running all inside the car. And we're not pulling the windshield. We're not pulling the back glass. We will possibly pull the quarters. I have to see how they come out. I know we're going to pull the trim, and I know I'm going to try to pull this plastic piece off the side. I don't know how the glass and the quarters come out yet. I have to look that up. The glass in the side windows will come out and all that. The doors are staying on it right now for this stage, this step. So we will keep all of this stuff on it and intact to try to keep as much as we can out the interior of the car until the final process, and to keep this job flowing smooth. So if when you're on a time crunch like this also, you don't necessarily have, this all sounds bad, but you don't have the time to sit there and do double the work when you can just leave the doors on, leave the glass on, and wait until basically the last minute to pull it and prep it. Because when you pull this stuff, you know, when you pull your windows, if you are, all you're prepping is that little tiny flange around the edge. So you can literally wash the whole car, scuff the whole car down. You can run all the way through your primer process, all the nasty primer dust, everything with the windows in it. And then when you get right to the end, you can take the glass out, scuff down the edges, the tracks that the glass sit in, and then power wash everything and just try to keep the water out the car at that time. So at least we are keeping the windshield in the back. The sides are not too hard to keep the water out, but when you have the back glass out of the car, then everything wants to run off the roof straight into the back seat, and it's an absolute freaking nightmare to do it. Unless you do like a lot of these modern body shops. A lot of body shops nowadays don't even put water on the car. So they repair the whole car, paint the whole car and everything with no water. It's a ton of wiping down with paper towels, wiping down with chemicals and everything, and just all that. I like to get in there with a power washer and really scrub this thing and really get this thing clean, so that after we're painting it, the car is basically a new car, and I haven't just wiped what I'm working on. You know, I've kind of washed everything that I can and kind of get the car back feeling new. I hope all that makes sense to y'all. I'm trying to explain it the best I can so you kind of understand. I'm my own boss. I'm not a fan of that. I like to wash these cars, get them clean, and, you know, do that. But and then them guys will hit you back with a whole nother conversation of how primers are porous, basically like a sponge. Body fillers are porous, so you have to be careful to make sure that none of that stuff soaks up water, and that you don't lock water underneath your coats of stuff. As long as you're aware of that, then you can be okay. You'll be fine. And as long as when you do wash your car, you know, you are giving it time to dry, or you're setting it out in the sun where it can dry and not lock water in. So that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to get too off course. I just know how these comments are going to go. If I don't briefly touch on this to acknowledge it, then I'm going to get all these in the comment section, and then I'm going to be having to reply back and explain all this then. So I kind of just wanted to very briefly skim across the water situation, leaving the glass in the car, not taping up the glass, you know, and that's about it. So if you want to look up the protectant that goes over like windows and everything, it's going to be a 3M product, and I think it's a film. I think they make one that you could put on there and you could tape, and I think they make one that's like, you know, you just stick on there and cut it out. You see a lot of people do it. If you're doing Lexan or anything like that, you definitely want to put it on there. Alright, so we just skimmed out our cowls and skimmed out across the roof, as you can see. Skimmed that panel. We took a toothpick and went inside of our little holes that are on the panel, just so that we don't bury them, and then we will take hand sandpaper and clean them and make sure everything looks good. We'll make sure everything looks good when it's done. I'll show you it all when it's done. We're not going to hide anything. I'm just trying to show y'all how I do it. So all that one's slicked out. You know, we've opened up our hole roughly so we can get another tool up in there to clean it out. And we'll make sure all of our holes are nice and clean. You don't ever want to do a job and then it's painted, and then you look back around the edges or inside little tiny holes and there's freaking filler inside of it. That is the worst thing that you could ever freaking do. So just take you a minute with a toothpick or something and make sure your hole is opened up enough so that after you've sanded all this off, you can come back and, you know, do it. As you can see, our area right here where we did our work is starting to shrink back. So as the filler dries, it's wanting to shrink back. And that's perfectly fine, because this is going to take, you know, 2 or 3 skim coats over top of it to clean up. So your first pass, as you get faster with it and you're doing for speed, is always going to be a little messier around your edges and stuff. If you're doing it at your house, you can try to keep it all clean, but at the end of the day, it don't matter. Fenders are coming off. All of these edges are getting sanded. Everything's getting cleaned up. Everywhere there's filler gets cleaned up. I'm just about speed. I want it fast. I want to knock this stuff out, keep it moving, and I want a good end result. I'm not trying to do it fast where we take shortcuts. I'm trying to do it fast where you can make money. Fast and efficient, I guess you could say. Not cheap and crappy. So there is a difference. I'm gonna let that stuff flash off and probably try to move on to something else, and then I will catch back up with y'all. I'm trying not to bore you too much with this because you don't want to watch time lapse of just me sanding for the next freaking week, you know, worth of prep work. It's a lot of time, so I'm gonna just try to give you tips along the way. This is what ends up happening with all that goop off of the window, is it just gets all over you. This is a life for the body life. Don't go home with this crap on you. If you get this in your wife's bed or on the bed sheet, she's gonna kill you because that crap is not gonna come out. So let's go get these hands cleaned up while we're waiting for this to dry. Ed's over here getting at it on Impala. Alright, so that is a wrap for this afternoon. Eddie kicked me out of my spot, so he's prepping out an Impala for paint tomorrow. He chunked the Mustang on rollers and said she's got to go. Y'all like how dirty I am. This is the life of a body guy. That's the life. That's what you're paying for. That's what you're paying for when you pay us all that money, is you're paying for this. So let me flip the camera around and I'll show you where we got what we got done today. So we got our pieces taken out this afternoon. Had to go in here and pull the interior trim out to get that out. And I didn't even think about that when I priced the job. That's why when we were talking the other day in the video about how much does it cost to get a car painted, I said we kind of do flat rate because you're always going to miss something. Something's going to be added, something extra is going to be done. You know, it's never going to be what you think it's going to be in your head. So I wasn't even thinking about having to take any trim apart, interior apart at all. It wasn't too bad. Seats come right out, and the interior panels came out with some Phillips screws. I mean, you got the trim up in the headliner that I really don't like messing with, but it is what it is. Climb back in there and get that out. Got to figure out what I'm gonna do with the glass. He wasn't concerned about anything getting pulled, but we are painting the trim, so I don't know if I want to disturb this. This gets flat black, or not flat, satin black around this. He wants to trim satin black, so I'm almost tempted to tape us our line and do the trim and these pieces and everything all at once and not pull all this stuff apart, because I can definitely get sandpaper up in here if I take my time and do it. When we strip the doors down, we drop the glass, I'll see how easy all this trim comes off. Of course, mirror is probably gonna come off easy. We'll be breaking the door down, but as far as on the quarter, instead of risking messing up this trim or something, I'm almost tempted just to do it all together, not disturb it. And then that way, whenever, instead of putting it back together and having to worry about it chipping or something, it's just not disturbed. So we can get tape all up in there. I mean, we could technically do the quarter windows and that piece all at once, because on this car we're going to run all of this satin black around the top of the frames, just like they're supposed to be. The upper trim piece, got that off. He's supposed to mail me out other trim by this weekend. Got the cow panel all brushed out. We're not done, so that was a rough swipe over it. We need another swipe over that. The face, I got a couple little spots to touch up, but It's looking really good. I'm happy with it. I'm honestly happy that we left these holes across the top and we left the opening for the wiper motor, because it kind of gives it a semi factory appearance, because you do have some holes in there, but then it's going to be like a super clean factory appearance. It's not going to necessarily, you know, look like it's all 100% shaved all out. So we got this side almost roughed out before, or almost sanded out before Eddie called it quits, made me quit. But I think, I don't know, and this is cool. He could technically come in here and build a panel, a nice aluminum panel that would actually screw into the factory holes, and then allow this is a perfect spot for electrical to pass through, because he could come up through the fresh air duct if he wanted to, and then come out of there, you know, or he has another spot over there if he wanted to come out lower. But that's not a bad place to do that, or to possibly get like a burn down tube out or something. I mean, you could definitely use that for something if you are doing it at your house. We didn't fill these holes. They get plastic plugs put back in them. We're gonna leave them like that. So that's about it for day one, is all the welding and smoothing and, you know, just rolling out everything, making sure everything is nice and smooth. Tomorrow we are going to check our edges one more time with a straight edge, make sure that this whole panel is nice and flat, that we don't need to roll our edges up or down. I tapped this down a little bit earlier because it was just bowed up from something, but these edges right here, I might want to do a little bit of dolly or hammer work before we do the final skim on this. Once you do body filler, you don't want to make any major changes, but I just want to check all my perimeter and kind of make sure that this whole area is nice and flat for when you put a carbon panel on it. I want it to be, for the most part, flat, and it does have a little bit of arch like this in it, but it's not, you know, I just want to make sure that it's all straight. So that's day one. We come through here and got most of the roof knocked out, besides up here. I ran out of time on doing that, but tomorrow we've got still some lows right there that we need to come in. So this is definitely nowhere. Look, we can build a sandcastle up here. So it's like $100 worth of sanding right there. So we'll come back in tomorrow and re-swipe over all this, because there's still a low right there that you can see, and then there's still a low right there you can see, and then we got some dents out over there. So that's gonna be a wrap for, what day are we on? Wednesday. So Wednesday afternoon's wrap. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you on the next update.